So I'm Ben, and I'm going to show you what I have found to be the cause so far for road noise when you're driving in a Hummer H2. It depends on how fast you're going, but lots of times it really boils down to if it's like 65 miles an hour and you're driving into a headwind. It seems like something's rattling on the outside or the front of the vehicle. And what I've determined from reading on message boards is if you come around on the front here, you can see this little piece of plastic it's really only secured by 2 screws right here. This screw, apparently, it tends to break pretty frequently. And what happens is air gets trapped up underneath here, this lip, and it just vibrates. And it vibrates so loud that you can barely hear what's going on in the car. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off that plastic a little bit. Just get some cleaner on that plastic so I can then put on some silicone to help seal that up. You want to get that as clean as possible, both sides of it. If you look on the inside of this track, I can't really take this out without taking it really out, but if you come on this side, you can see, hey Lydia, you can see where this is right here. There's some like rubber, and it is pretty much all but disintegrated. And that's the only thing that's sealing that window and that glass. And so otherwise air can just trap right in there. So we're going to go ahead and put some stuff on there to seal that up. So I'm cleaning this out. I'll have to do this on both sides, unfortunately. I think my right side is actually worse than this side. But while I'm doing this, I'm going to do it at the same time. So I get that all dry, and I've got my vehicle inside, so that way it has plenty of time to dry without making any so it just doesn't get any water in it or moisture of any kind. So now I've got a tube of clear silicone. I want to make sure it was clear because in case some of it gets out, I don't want to be cleaning up silicone everywhere. I'm going to put those around those screw marks for sure. See what that is there. Then on the inside here, on this side, I'm actually going to put that bead on the inside of this where this rubber was. I'm going to put that rubber back down, and hopefully that will seal. Keep that rubber piece back on, and then I'm going to put a solid strip on the inside. Kind of see where I'm putting that there. And I took the tip off, the squeeze tip, because I wanted to be able to get a thicker bead of that on there. Then I'm going to come in and do the same thing on this side and put a solid piece down where those screw holes would be. All the way down. Once I've got that on there, I'm going to slowly try to put this back on here. Line up the screw holes best that I can. Push this down. That way it's got a good bond on there. And then I'm going to put the screws that I took out, put those back in. And this needs to dry for quite a while. And you don't want to drive it either. So what I was reading on the articles on the message boards was it really suggested that you kind of wait 24 to 48 hours before taking it outside, any of the elements allowed to it, and especially with driving, because that way it has a good chance to really bond and doesn't break that silicone bead that we put in there. So I used it pretty I was not conservative about putting that stuff on. I was putting on quite a bit. And if anything popped out here on this side, I'll clean that up as it dries, but it doesn't feel like anything's come out of there. So I really want to make sure that that's pressed on there pretty good. And then I'm going to put this rubber molding back up in position. So all of that is being held on by 2 screws, that whole thing, and that one screw down here was busted. So by putting that silicone on there, it's going to hopefully keep that from that vibration coming on. So what I've already took that side off. So what I'll do is we'll come on this other side, and I'll take off this side and show you how that comes across. You have to come on this side here, I think. Not as much room on this side, but basically take this apart here. Then I'm left with 2 screws. Right here you can see the 2 screws. This side, the secondary screw doesn't appear to be broke, so that's good. I don't know if I can get this one out at this angle or not here. I think Anyway, so basically you take this other screw out. I'm going to have to get a smaller screwdriver and take that out. And you repeat the process. I'm going to put this back up and try to get that to stay in place a little bit better because it was already falling down. But hopefully this will take care of all the road noise from these little plastic pieces. And what I think is doing, and it kind of makes sense after you think about it, that air is coming through and hitting this little plastic piece that bevels out, and then it just vibrates this entire channel. And it sounds like when you're inside, it's just like, oh my goodness, it sounds like the window's gonna fall off. And this has been a defect of the Hummer H2 since I've owned it. And I've talked to several people while I see them at rest stops and things like that, and they talk about the same thing. And a lot of people think it's this right here, and it's not these down here because obviously the noise is up further up toward the top. So that is how to fix some noise vibration when you're driving down the road at 65 miles an hour and it sounds like your windshield's gonna fall off.